Gupshup Junction में आपका स्वागत है. So today we are having an author, Deepti Menon, and I am amazed at the number of books she has written, 25 anthologies and 9 solo books. This she has accomplished with being a full-time educationist. Isn't it wonderful? So let us talk to Deepti about her writing journey and the learnings she has learned through life. Welcome to the show, Deepti.
Thank you so much, Nirja. Lovely to be here with you.
So, when did you started your writing journey? I'm sure it is something which you have started in childhood, because that shows, I mean, the number of books you have written, and I have read your story in the recently published book of horror by Block Chatter. Lovely story. I mean, very interesting. So I think you have started from writing your thoughts since childhood. So
Absolutely. Yes. When I think I was 10 years old when I wrote my first poem. So
okay.
that is quite long ago, sometime in the last century. And after that, I never looked back because somehow I felt that words had a fascination for me. You know, I could just, even in school, I think I took part in a lot of competitions and contests, where literary competitions. And somewhere I found that words just came very naturally to me. And I was better at writing than speaking, because I think I could put all my thoughts down. And it was a wonderful journey. As I progressed to college also, I did take part in a lot of competitions, and I was the literary champion in college as well.
Okay.
Because I think it was just that I never thought of winning or losing. I just wanted to write. I think writing is like breathing to me.
Yes, that is actually when you have that passion without any expectations, your work, you excel in your work. That is one reason.
Because I never looked at any rewards for writing. Writing, there is no money in writing unless you're right up there,
Right.
The top rung there. So there's no money in writing, but there is so much of pleasure. There's so much of happiness, and there's so much of creativity that comes out when you just hold a pen. I mean, in the past, yes, it used to be all pen and paper, manuscripts. My first book, which was called Arms and the Woman, it was a proper manuscript that went, to Rupa Publishers. So those I've written in the times when laptops were hardly known. I mean, we hardly had any laptops. I got my first computer around then, but I always loved using colored pens to write. That white paper and a lot of lovely colored pens. That used to be my passion always. So I carried on writing, and till I got married. And luckily, even after I got married, my husband always encouraged me to write, because he knew that that was my passion. Apart from teaching, it's always been writing that has been my passion. And when the two come together, writing and teaching, both my passions come together, when your passion and your profession come together, I think that is the ideal state of happiness. That is where I find myself.
And when you are into teaching, I think you meet every day new children, new challenges, and you have so many stories to tell about. That must be helping you in your writing journey, isn't it?
Yes. Because, being with children, it makes you stay young as well. Every day they teach you something. We are the teachers. We're supposed to be the educationists. But we learn so much every single day, because children, basically, they're so creative, they're so bright, and they are so enthusiastic. If they love you forever. And that is one beautiful thing about being a teacher. Wherever you go, you find your children. And they come rushing out to you, it is such a lovely feeling. And yes, a lot of my experiences that have gone into my books have been through children, because I have written for children as well. So, when you write for children, your automatically the way you write changes.
Oh,
So it's been a wonderful learning experience.
I would like to know how, what kind of changes you have to make in your writing to write for children.
For children can be your worst critics. Children don't have these layers that say, oh, we shouldn't say this to people. We shouldn't, make her feel bad. No, they are so innocent and they actually love certain things and they don't like certain things. So when you write for children, the first thing is that you should make your work very interesting, filled with adventure, filled with things that they would enjoy. And you should never talk down to children. One thing, sometimes we tend to do, we say, maybe the child cannot fathom what is there in this kind of writing. So we must bring down the writing. Never do that.
Okay.
You have to gauge. You have to turn into a child of that age and write from there. So you don't talk down. You talk as equals. For instance, when I wrote my book on Shakespeare, which is my second last book, that is before my latest book, I just wanted to demystify the plays of Shakespeare. A child would not be able to read Shakespeare in its entirety. So I just wanted to bring those stories out there for children. And I actually had a lot of children giving me advice, saying, I sent them my stories that, ma'am, maybe you change this a little. This will be more interesting. Maybe you put in this character here. That will be more interesting.
Okay.
You will not believe the wonderful advice I got from them. And likewise, I had children illustrating for my book as well. Such beautiful illustrations. So never underestimate what your children can do. They can do wonders. That is what I've learned all my life as a teacher.
I remember one story about this Harry Potter book that she has taken her manuscript to so many publishers, but everybody rejected it till the one who has published, he saw his little son reading through the manuscript, totally engrossed in that. Then only he decided to publish that book. So, children definitely have a way to decide what they want to write.
Absolutely. Read, absolutely. And they are your fiercest critics as well.
And we need them, actually, we need critics to improve ourselves, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Positive criticism is always welcome.
Right. Yeah, criticism is valued only if it is positive. Then only you can improve. Otherwise, you have to just discard it to keep your calm.
And not feel bad. And not feel bad about it.
At all.
I know. Yes.
So, which was your first solo book? And what was it about?
My first solo book was this book called Arms and the Woman. And I've been an army brat all my life. And then I got married to an army officer, so an army wife. So I think I've lived in the Indian Army for practically all my life. And so when I got married, I found so many interesting things. It's a very different life being a child in the army and being a wife in the army.
Okay.
Things change completely. So I found so many interesting things that I could write about. And there was this little journal called, we were in a place called Devlali, which is very close to Bombay. It's Bombay, Pune, and Devlali. It's a triangle. Okay. So there was this tiny little journal called Devlali Doings. And every month I would send something or the other, some humorous article. Maybe it would be on the spies or on the dogs in the army or on the chefs in the army. So many varied things, accommodation. So finally, when I suddenly realized that much later, I got married in 1984, and I'm talking about 1985, 86. But much later in life, I suddenly realized that I had so many published articles about my army experiences, most of them humorous. So I said, okay, why can't I just put all those articles together? There are so many people who don't know what exactly goes on within the Indian Army. And most people feel that people in the army, what do? They just, have fun, drink, dance. I said, that is so wrong. Because we in the army, we tend to show off our joys and hide our sorrows. There are so many things in the army that people don't know about. The strife, the tension, the stress, so much of sorrow that goes in there. It's just that we don't put it out there. So I said, no, this book that I write, I need to bring out the entire truth, the joys and the sorrows, the good and the sorrowful. That is what I need to put out there, because people need to understand that we are also human. We might live, we might enjoy life, but we also have the other side. There are so many things, that could go wrong. So that is why I wrote my first solo book called Arms and the Woman. I sent it to Rupa Publishers, and it came back, and I said, oh my God, I think they've rejected it. But when I opened it, they said, we love your manuscript, but we would like you to add on a few more chapters to it and send it back to us. And I was so thrilled. And of course, I did all that, added on a few more things, sent it back. And then promptly, New Year's Day, they published it for me, and with illustrations and everything. I didn't have to do anything except send my manuscript. They did everything else.
And what other things you are writing about? I mean, this is what you have lived.
Yes.
And one book you have talked about Shakespeare, because I think you are an English person, English
Yes,
literature
I am.
student.
I've done English all my life. Yes, right from school to college to my B.Ed, everything has been in English because I just love the language.
English, okay. You must be a student of
English literature. Yes,
right?
Literature.
So, what other genres you are writing about?
Well, as I said, I started with poetry. Then I moved on. When I was younger, before I got married, I used to send short stories to Woman's Era, Femina, and poetry to magazines like Mirror. Today, we don't have all those magazines, unfortunately. At that time, it again used to be, you send it and you receive an accept or a reject. And when you're accepted, you feel very nice, and they give you a small little token amount.
Yes,
which
yes.
makes you feel very, very nice about it.
Yeah,
So,
I also did the same thing, because Women's Era, yes, there were many articles, Femina even.
Yes,
I was never a poetry person, though I have recently, tried it and published an ebook on poetry. But
wonderful. What is it called? What is your ebook called? What is the title?
I will share the title, Whisper Melodies.
Lovely, lovely. That's a nice title also. Oh, you must share it with us.
Yeah.
With
I will
the
share
all. Yes.
Okay, what else? Have you written
Are
anything
they
about
shorter?
women? I mean,
For
their
women?
life, their struggles, and their happiness. I mean, something like that.
Basically, when after I wrote Arms and the Woman, for very long, I did not get published, but I used to keep sending articles all over the place. I didn't think of publication. It is only in 2016 that I wrote this book. No, I'd been writing this book for 12 years, but this book of mine, a thriller, psychological thriller, got published by Readomania, which is called Shadow in the Mirror.
Okay. Oh my God. The even cover is so captivating. When you look at it, you know it is something.
It's a psychological thriller, and it is done by Readomania. And this actually, my women characters are always very, very strong. Right from my short stories to my poetry to my novels, I think my women characters are very strong. Basically, because I come from Kerala, and we live in a matrilineal society. So
I would like to know more about this. I mean, the setup
matrilineal.
Yes,
in Kerala. Yes,
what it is actually.
This is actually very interesting, because in the past, we are Nayars. We call ourselves Nayars, and for us, we all the property was in the name of basically it used to go in the name of the girls in the family.
Okay.
I take my mother's name, my mother's family name, not my father's family name. My daughter takes my ancestral name, not my husband's ancestral name. So that is where it is matrilineal. It comes down. The families come down through the daughters. So I'm part of that. So I think we in Kerala, we tend to be, when earlier women used to be so strong because they used to control the affairs in the house. The men, of course, were there and they were very strong, but all the household affairs used to be managed by the women. So I think women in Kerala are very strong. So that has come out in my writing as well. All my writing, in Shadow the Mirror, I have very, very female characters who are much stronger than the male characters in in my books. So yes, when you talk about the strength of a woman's emotional strength is so much.
Right.
Physical may not be that much, but emotionally. So I think that is the strongest part of you. Your emotional, your mental strength is, it can control your physical strength as well. So I think that really has made me a strong woman. Like you say, I was raised by a strong woman. I have raised a strong woman in my daughter. So I think that happens. Of course, in my case, my husband is also an extremely strong person. So my daughter has both the genes, strong genes. So she herself is a strong woman. So I think all that comes out in your writing. What makes your mental makeup comes out in your writing when you actually start putting pen and paper together.
What I feel that why do one partner has to be stronger than the other? Can't we be equals and have a happy life? Just
Absolutely,
wanted to have your thought.
100%. You have hit the nail, literally hit the nail on the head. Why should one person be weaker? And why should the woman always be weaker? No?
Yes.
Why? That way, I think all of us, I think we are lucky. We're lucky in our in the relationships we have in life. I don't have brothers. My mother.
Even I
and
don't have
three
any.
daughters.
We are two sisters.
Yeah. Yeah, we are three sisters, and my mother has brought us all up to be as strong as the boys in the family.
Yes.
So why?
Never
We
ever
can do
once my
anything.
parents have said that like in North India we say कि
Yeah.
बेटियां नहीं बेटा है, but they have never told us
Ah.
that your daughters, your strong daughters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Same here. My parents were very proud of all three of us, and they've never regretted not having a boy because daughters are capable of being both.
They have made us
know,
capable. They have made us capable.
Yes, 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 yes. So I think you do not need to be, you have to be equals in a relationship. And a relationship is always give and take.
Right. Because these days, what I am observing and seeing, and I'm sure you must have seen and these things also, that we are putting girls on a very higher pedestal, and the difference which was earlier like girls were here and boys were here. Now girls are here and the relationship is again in the same, in the problematic zone.
Yes, yes.
I remember
that also is a problem. No, that is also a problem. It is not equal. No, I mean it is not balanced. You have to balance out the relationship. At all.
It is not, and the things like patience, adjustments have gone out of the dictionary right now.
Yes, I agree. 100%. I agree with you.
I remember, a divorce in someone known family just because the girl wanted her husband to have an foreign posting, which he can easily have, but he didn't want to, and he has told all these things before marriage. After 4 years of marriage, and it was a very lovely couple and normal life, the girl suddenly wanted to have, she was just forcing the boy and he refused. And she divorced only because of this reason. Imagine. These such petty issues are turning into separation, which is not good actually, because whenever a relationship breaks up, it breaks two people.
And it breaks, if you have children, it breaks them completely.
Right.
That is the saddest part,
Yes, that is
saddest part. Because children from broken homes, they find it so difficult to cope with life, and then you feel so sad about it, And because children, let's face it, need both their parents.
Right.
That is the ideal family. Parents, children. Maybe if you have the grandparents also, that would be even better, because I remember growing up with my grandparents and all, and I have gained so much from them. So much of love, so much of knowledge, so many stories. All that has made me what I am today. so many genes coming in and so many influences coming in.
Right. But I think now the grandparents are not that much valued. What I have seen, I think there are two reasons. One, we as grandparents, we don't want to, give our all time to the our children and their children, because now we also want to have our own peace and think. This could be one reason. The other reason is their lack of adjustment tendency in the younger generation. So there are reasons, but still, it is always good to have grandparents around, if not living together, because the houses have become smaller than, I mean, the old ones. So the separation, living separately is
Nuclear
fine.
nuclear
Nuclear
families, no?
families,
Families a bit
yeah.
turn nuclear, no?
Mhm. But still, I think one need to have a big family to have a good life, at least good childhood.
I agree completely. I love my childhood days because I had so many older people, and they made such a difference to my life. So I think that is today
I
I'm a
was,
grandmother myself,
even I am.
and yeah. So and it's such a pleasure to be with my grandchildren. I'm sure. You also must find it such bliss to be with your grandchildren or grandchild.
Daughter.
You have granddaughter? Ah, oh, lovely, lovely. How old is she?
5.
My grandson is 4 and my granddaughter is 7. So around about the same age, and it's
Mhm.
still lovely. Those ages are so lovely.
Yeah, very true. And they are such innocent people. Uh, so it is just fun to be with them.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
So, okay, let us move on to your next writing experience.
So I saw shadow. I said about shadow in the mirror. That came, and then suddenly my publisher said, he says, "Why don't you write some thriller short stories?" Just before that, I had written my first thriller short story in a in called 21 Tales to Tell. Something that I loved writing it. Because for a thriller short story, you have to be very accurate and you have to make people fall off their seats with wonder, saying, "Oh my God, I didn't see that coming." So I thought that was a wonderful idea. And my next two books, they're both ebooks, they're not in print. They both have the word shadow. One is called Where Shadows Follow, and the other one was Shadows Never Lie. And they were both anthologies with thriller short stories. And they did pretty well because people somehow, people who don't have time, don't have too much of time to read, even they enjoy short stories because
Right.
they're like little capsules. You swallow them, forget about them. Next, whenever you have to have it, you swallow one more. Again, you don't have to
Very
waste too
true.
much of time over. So I think that was a wonderful experience. So finally, with these 3 shadow books, I started being called the author of the Shadow trilogy because I had 3 of these shadow books out.
Okay.
In Yeah. So in fact, there's one more shadow book coming. It's almost ready. It should be coming out soon. Everything is ready. So that
How
would
do
be
you
my
write?
fourth
I mean,
shadow book.
I just want to know, how do you write horror books when you have not seen horror as such in your life? I mean, the
I think
imagination, I have not
I have
written any
two.
fiction.
um, pardon?
I am not a fiction writer, so I am
Oh,
always
okay.
amazed by the people who imagine so many things and write and create such good, fun stories.
I think imagination, yes, my imagination can run really riot. And when I was growing up, like I said, I had my 2 sisters and I had a number of cousins, and we used to sit in this dark room at night, and I would kind of horrify them, scare the heebie-jeebies out of them by telling them stories. Even today, they say we can never forgive you for those scary, scary nights where everything would be quiet outside, and I would start, acting out the stories, and I would watch horror movies, and I would create my own ending, and I would create all kinds of things, and they would really sit, and they're all much younger than me, and they would sit, round-eyed and scared, and they wouldn't even want to, when you touch them by mistake, they would jump out of their skin. So I think it started then. I realized that I could I could scare people. And like people say, oh my God, but you've got such an innocent face. How do you do all this? I said, my husband sleeps with one eye open. He never knows what I'm up to in the middle of the night. So I think it's all started there. It's just that I think I love startling people. I love making people, wonder what is going to happen. That is what makes me want to write my thrillers and my horror stories. And so I think that's about it. My imagination runs riot.
I can't write. I mean, I have never written fiction. I'm a non-fiction writer. And when this blog chatter asked for stories, I tried one. And I knew it will be rejected, and it did. But when I got the book, I knew that my story has no place in this book. It cannot have. So I just can't think of writing. I mean, my imagination is not that fertile.
I think maybe I think the right idea maybe has not struck you.
I
I'm
think
sure if you just put it out there, you will also be able to write fiction.
I think I have been a science student, and science people have this clear this or that.
Logical mind, no? Very logical mind.
So I think this could be one reason, though I am trying my hand at writing my imaginative blogs on the blog hops, which blog chatters shares. And few of them got good, responses. So I think I am going there in steps one day. You never know.
Definitely. I will wait for you to, I will wait for you to tell me, yes, I've started writing fiction. I've started enjoying fiction.
No,
Definitely.
I enjoy reading fictions. I enjoy reading a lot.
Writing also,
But
writing.
yes,
Writing.
I think I need
Writing.
some time. And I am going to read your books, I mean horror books, so that I have some ideas about it.
I would love to know what you think of them also.
Sure.
And in fact, if you have Kindle Unlimited, then you can read all these books. All my books are on all these are on Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah, I will.
All my shadow books.
Yeah, I would love if you could share the names, and then I will definitely read them and share my reviews with you.
With pleasure. Why not? I mean, I love people reading my books.
Deepti, you have spoken about that you have rewritten rather, the stories of Panchtantra for children. So how did this idea came to you? Because Amar Chitkatha has already done so much about Panchtantra. How did this idea came to you, and what did you write? Rewriting something which is already existing is a tough job, because you don't have that freedom to uh, think and let your imagination run right. So how did you do this? I just wanted to know the process.
Yes, actually, this again was a suggestion by Readomania, Dipankar Mukherjee of Readomania. He said, Panchatantra is so popular, so why don't you write the Panchatantra, give it your own flavor, and make it accessible to children? So I said, okay, let me try. I mean, as children, we all loved the Panchatantra and the Chataka tales and all those.
Right.
So I said, okay, let me just try. So the first thing I did was, choose some stories, the best loved stories. I started writing them. Again, I wanted to make it as interesting as possible for children. And this Panchatantra, age groups from, I think, 5, 6 onwards can actually read it. So I actually made the writing as interesting and as simple as I could, so that even little children would be inspired to just, read it. And then my publisher, he says, do you draw? So I said, draw? I said, yeah, as a child, I used to do a little bit of cartooning and drawing. He says, why don't you make your own illustrations?
Okay.
That was such an interesting idea. I've always loved drawing. Not that I'm an artist as such, but I can always, copy, and I've always been able to do. So then I said, okay, can I ask my daughter to also join, and draw with me. He says, yeah, go ahead. So we chose 20 stories. And I think I illustrated about 10 of them, and she illustrated about 10 of them. And it was such fun because every day we would kind of exchange our drawings, and then we would color them. And finally, the entire book had illustrations by her and by me. And what was even more heartwarming was my little granddaughter. She was about 5 at that time. She drew a little lion. And I
Okay.
said, and I asked my publisher, I said, can we just put that also? He said, yeah, go ahead. So that is also there. So this book had all three of us, my granddaughter, my daughter, and me, all three of us collaborating
Okay.
in the
That's really
illustrations.
great. I mean,
And it
three
was such
generations
fun.
together.
Yes, 3 generations. But again, once I've done it, these again are in ebook form. They are not in print books. So initially, I had 4 books of 5 stories each. And then he said, let us bring it together into one book. So then after these 4 books, then I had one single book with all the stories. So they're all there again on Kindle Unlimited. So I, sent it to all my friends and I said, pick it up. So a lot of my friends picked it, and they said, oh, my grandchildren loved it, our children loved it and all. So that it was great fun to do. It was a nice, pleasurable kind of project. That is how the Panchatantra came through.
Okay.
And
I would love to, I mean, listen, what changes have you made? How did you, I mean, if you can take one story and compare it with the earlier
okay.
ones, I mean, just let us have an idea what you have done with the.
Actually, what the stories are in on Kindle, so I'll have to. But I can tell you what I did.
Yes,
So
just.
what I did was like a story like the Blue Fox. Where the fox falls into that Nile and he turns blue, and then
Yes,
everybody's scared of him and all that. So the story was the same, but then wherever I could, I added dialogues, my own dialogues, in the sense
Okay.
this is what the fox would have said and I injected humor in all the stories.
Okay.
There was there was this story called those stories about an honest man and a dishonest man. Again, I gave them funny dialogues so that people reading those stories, it was not just the story, but they had these dialogues also ringing in their ears.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so I added on a little more on my own. So
Yeah,
it
because
kind of changed.
those stories were, I mean, you just read it. When it is a conversation,
Yes.
they become interesting.
Yes,
Okay,
yes. So
great
I did a
idea.
little more conversation than was in the original story. Original stories actually just had 1 or 2, places where they had dialogues and all. I added a lot more dialogues, and of course with the illustrations and the dialogues and the simplicity of the stories, and of course the moral is always there. The moral also I tried to make it, a little more adaptable to children. So I think that kind of worked.
Okay.
As
Yeah,
far as the
because in these times, children are not so receptive to moral stories.
And because moral stories, you should never tell a child, don't do this, this is not good,
Yes,
this
the
is bad.
positive way.
Instead of that, you tell them a story, and through the story they should realize, oh, okay, if we do this, this is the consequence. If I talk this way, this is what is going to happen. So it is in a positive way, you're affirming the fact that there are certain ways in which you should behave. But if you say, no, don't tell lies, don't go and don't beat up people, they're not going to actually listen to you. You have to find a subtle way to do all that.
Yes, this is very important. And I mean,
Very
this is
important.
how things should be done with the children these days.
Absolutely.
In our
Absolutely.
times, it is okay कि नहीं ये नहीं करना, you will not do because
Ah,
you will listen to your parents.
Yes,
Now the
yes. We were
times have
very,
changed.
very, a little too good, I think. We used to listen to everything and say, nahi,
Yes.
nahi karenge. Today's children, because I'm in a school where there are 1,800 children, each of them has, his or her own viewpoints, opinions, and with the social media, children have become even more opinionated. So but they are also more receptive.
Is
When you
it?
say something that interests, when you say something that interests them, they're very receptive. If you say something that goes beyond, which they're not interested in, or they will just say. So you have to.
But I think with these kinds of attitudes and awareness, even awareness, won't it be difficult for you as an educationist to, discipline them in school? Or what I should say, that the level of disciplines have changed, the ways of disciplining the children have changed, and how difficult it is for a teacher when the children are not on the same level, same in the same disciplined manner.
I think that what you said last is very important. Children and teachers need to be on the same level. They need to be on the same wavelength. So the first thing that we insist on in school is that teachers must create a rapport with the children. Once that is done, things get much easier. Because once a teacher is doing things to the best of her ability to make the child comfortable, then disciplining becomes easier. And gone are the days of the cane, danda maro kind of thing. No. First of all, corporal punishment is not allowed, and it is of no use.
It is of no use. Generations have improved, changed.
It is of no use. So absolutely. So all our punishments, we don't even call them punishments. All are, we call them reformative. So do something that is positive instead of saying no and thrusting discipline down their throats. That does not work. Do something that interests them better. Do something that makes them feel, oh, if we do this, our teachers are going to be so happy with us. So things like that.
Okay.
So as far as possible, even punishments, we don't insist on punishments that are harsh. Never. Even emotionally yelling at the giving a child kind of a bad name. No, it's always reformative, and it works. And if the children realize that you are on their side, you truly love them, they respond.
Okay, that is great. I mean, it is very difficult, though, I feel, because if the children is not able to get what you are saying, then it must be very difficult for the teacher to bring him on to that level, and then
yes,
it is difficult.
That is, it is.
Because their opinions are also very strong. They are not so malleable to change their opinion.
As we were, no? Yeah. And also their knowledge is far beyond what we had at their age. Social media, their minds are opened up to so many thoughts which we didn't even realize existed in every field.
And they were not there, Deepti, because the times were different. When you have more resources and more access to knowledge, to different ideas, definitely they are bound to have better thoughts, better knowledge than what we had in their age group.
Yes.
So this is
but
how
those thoughts also have to be harnessed.
Yeah.
You cannot allow them to go beyond something, and for that the teacher has to be firm. Your teachers need to know when to be firm and when to be friendly. There has to be that perfect balance. Then only things work out with children.
And how do you place parental intervention in bringing up a child with school? Because as far as I understand, though I am not much into education right now, and parents are both working. And generally what I see around that, they have no time for children. They send children from one school. I mean, they come from the normal school, then to tuition classes or to activity places. So how does this lack of parental intervention in a child life affects them in being a disciplined child and being someone who is responsible?
That's a very, very important point. Very important point you've made, Nirja, because today what has happened is, like you said, parents are working, and when they don't have time for their children, this is not a general rule. I'm talking about only those parents who are, there are a lot of parents who take a lot of effort and interest in their children. Beautiful parents who are totally on the side of the school, and they come and help us, they come and guide us, we also guide them. So it's a beautiful relationship, because I always feel it's a triangle: the child, the parent, and the teacher, and the school. That triangle has to be maintained. But there are parents sometimes who don't have time. Unfortunately, life has become such, you need two incomes to run a family. So there are parents who are very busy, and what happens is, sometimes in their guilt, that they don't have enough time,
Mm.
they pamper the child, give the child
Yeah.
everything
Yes,
he or she wants.
yeah.
That that can ruin a child. You know, that is when you miss grandparents. If you had grandparents at home to take care of the child when the parents are working, then a lot of these problems can be ironed out. These again are the parents who get very, very defensive when you say, oh, your child has done this, so please look into it. They'll say, no, our child, no way. Yeah, my child is not capable of doing this. You must have got it wrong. Parents, those kinds of parents are very, very defensive also. So they refuse to believe anything wrong that their child could have done. So that is another way. You have to tackle those parents in a different way. So like you find that you have 1,800 children, you have to double that into two when you have parents. So you have to have a different way of dealing with parents, all kinds of children of all kinds. I mean, you have to use your judgment.
Okay, so coming back to your writing journey, what else you have written about?
So a very, very important book in my life is a biography that I've written on my mother.
Okay.
My mother has been, yes, she's been the, a force in our lives, a natural force in our lives. She was widowed at a very young age. She was 39 when my father passed away. And she had three daughters, three of us to bring up. And that is when she started the school. Just before my father passed away is when she started the school, where she wanted to bring a change in the education of the town in this town in Kerala. I live in a town called Thrissur, and she started in 1978 with 6 children. 79, my father passed away, and now the school has completed 44 years, and it's grown in leaps and bounds, and the spirit behind it is my mother. Single-handedly, she started the school. And of course, along the way, she got a lot of support. So I had to write this book on her. It is called Defying Destiny. Because she was one person who defied destiny to get to where she is. Today, she's 86 years old. And she's still the soul of the school, the spirit behind the school. Today, I've taken over as the executive director from her.
Okay.
So I'm in school. I'm trying to carry on her legacy. But she's not only a very interesting person, she's also a very humane person. She's filled with humor. We all call her crazy. She's crazy, absolutely. But it's only those people who can live their dreams and bring them up.
Very right.
So I wrote this, I wrote this book along with a friend of mine. It's called Defying Destiny. Mrs. Nalini Chandran, that's the name, my mother's name, a life sketch. That took a lot out of us because it's almost 500 pages, a huge book with a lot of pictures, cartoons, accounts from people, then her life right from the day she was born till today. So the book is it was a humongous effort, and it's obviously very, very close to my heart. So that's another genre, biography.
Would love to know more about her. Please share.
Absolutely. She was a dancer. She learned Kathakali for 7 years. So as a child, she was a dancer, and right from childhood, she's been into dancing and to drama. She used to organize things even when she was a child. As an army wife, she was a huge success because there again she could organize a lot of. In the army, you have a lot of scope for organization. So my father and mother, my father would direct plays, she would act in plays, and they would have people around. And she was always a teacher, of course. Wherever she went, she taught, and she would teach not only English and history, she would teach dancing to the children also. She could create an impact wherever she went, and she was an amazing teacher. She still is. And when she started the school, it kind of changed the landscape of Kerala, of this little town in Thrissur. She started it at a time when the town was more conservative. Women did not run schools, did not, have so much of an impact. But she stood there and she created an impact for herself in this little town. Today, everybody knows her in this town because as one of the leading educationists in this town.
So you're a daughter of such an illustrious person.
He is illustrious, yes. But I find both my parents gave me a lot of themselves, That is why I am the way I am today. I owe a lot to them, to my genes.
Very right. Okay. So again, more about your writing journey, your
Yes,
process.
yes. In between, I'd written a book on poetry, which was called Deeparadhana. Now, this again, since I spoke about my mother, this was all little poems that I had written over the years. And then I wrote a lot of poetry after my father passed away. That is when I realized that the true essence of poetry comes from within the soul, maybe through sorrow. So I had what my mother would do at that time, she would pick up all these little pieces of paper and keep them. And one day for one birthday of mine, she put it together into a book like this, and she made it for me. So this book is totally, by her. She is the one who got it done for me. Mothers are so generous.
So generous.
And some of my deepest poems are here. Simple, because it started, I was 17 when my father passed away. So all those poems are also there, along with some humorous poems as well. She put it together so beautifully and put it out there. That was my stage of poetry in between. And so I have written all kinds of genres, if you see: children's literature, fiction, non-fiction, thrillers, poetry, and biography. But my latest book it is called The Dance and the Trance.
Okay.
If you see the figure there, this is he's called an oracle. An oracle is somebody he's almost like a priest in a temple, in a Kerala temple. And what happens is, when where you have the music that goes in, and the goddess, we have the Devi, who gets into the person and makes prophecies. So my story is about this temple oracle, how he got into this. It's a story, it's fiction, but there is a lot of autobiography also, because I have, these are memories again, which I got from my grandparents, my mother, and because we had a temple oracle in our family, our very own oracle. So there are a lot of memories that are here, so a lot of autobiography, but I call it a totally fictional book because the story is mine. In the sense, the story is about this person. This is more of a social drama.
Okay.
That again is the latest genre that I have tried out.
You have done a lot of work,
I don't call it work, Nirja. I think I've had a lot of pleasure.
Yeah.
It's just that I love writing. So
how do you manage time to write with running a full-time school and definitely family? Even if you are not doing things, you have to manage things.
Yes. No, because we doing things in the sense, my husband is very supportive. Right now, it's only both of us. So he helps in everything. He manages, all the grocery shopping and all that. We do the cooking together. So a lot of household chores we do together. And my writing, if I am very strict about my deadlines. If I have to meet a deadline, I will sit up in the morning and do it. Because I'm lucky. I've never missed a deadline in my life, because I can't. I have to do it. If somebody tells me this is your deadline, I have to do it. Sometimes there are times when I've had to I've just about met the deadline 10 minutes before the actual time, midnight. Yeah, but most of the time I end up meeting my deadlines because I'm very passionate about my writing.
Yeah, that is why you are able to do that. I'm learning so much from you. I think I have to be that, committed to my writing. Though I have taken to writing very recently. Actually, I was a blog writer and I didn't ever know that how to promote blogs and all, and I still don't have. It is by chance that I'm connected with some communities and people, motivated me to write better. So this is how, and then with greater community, you learn a lot, and that is how the books happen. Though I got
and not only that's, a community like Blog Chatter
right
gives you such scope. They give you so many wonderful ideas. They have so many people who, give you lovely advice. And they have these frequent contests going on and your blog hop and so many things
Yes.
happening. So I try and take part in a lot of those challenges also, because that keeps you alive. That keeps your
Alive,
writing
right.
alive.
Very
Like you
true.
said, you do the blog hop, you're doing the blog hop. That really makes you think. It makes you
Yes.
put it down and it makes you want to improve further. So I think all of us go through that, all the time. And having friends in the sense, writer friends, that really makes a difference.
Very
I
true.
mean, we are all part of so many writing communities, and
Mm.
they all help. There are always people to help one
Help.
another.
This
So,
is beauty of
so
being into writing,
inspiring.
Mm.
Yes,
They
yes.
are always inspiring. And
Always
I have
inspiring.
not seen many people who pull your leg when you are into writing community. There are very
Yes,
few
yes.
because it happens. I mean, it is human nature.
It does, it
But
does, it does. Yes.
I mean, most of the
Most of the
people
time.
support you.
Absolutely. And they give you good advice.
Good
If they feel
advice.
there's something that you can improve on,
Mm.
they give it to you and you should take it. You should take good advice always.
Right.
It always enhances your work.
Mm.
It's a wonderful, wonderful world out there.
Mm.
I think that's one good thing about social media, no? You meet so many
So
people
many people.
online and
Right.
so many who inspire you.
Mm.
There.
Actually, social media is something, it can be good, it can be bad. It depends upon how you use it.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I also feel that way. Earlier I used to put a lot of my personal stuff on Facebook and all that, and people used to pull my leg. Oh, you're the face of Facebook and all. So and then I realized, why am I doing all that? Now all my social media is only for my writing.
Hmm.
I promote only my writing on social. Hardly anything personal I put anymore. And I
We
think
have
you
learned
grow.
also how to use social media to, create yourself as a brand, as a writer. I mean, the way you want
Yes,
to promote yourself. So
yes,
it
you
helps
have to promote
anything
yourself.
you want to be there on social media. Deepti, such a wonderful conversation with you. I'm so happy I could meet you, and it was one of the communities. And thank you so much for taking out time. And I'm sure people who are listening to this conversation, they will know that even if you are busy and you are passionate about writing, you can do wonders with your writings. Thank you so much, Deepti.
Thank you, Nirja. Thank you so much for taking this time out and for getting me to speak so much. I love talking anyway, but you got me to speak so much about myself, and that is because you're so generous. Thank you so much. And we must carry on. We must stay in touch. I think
Yeah, sure.
it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Same here, Deepti. Same here. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much.
much.